Alright, what's up guys? Okay, so for tonight's homework, which looks like this, it's our lesson 4 problem set. The assignment is to complete page 17, and then on the back, all of page 18 as well. Okay, and it says, again, it says the problem set at the top, make sure that's what you're doing. And it's everything on those pages. There's 6 problems altogether, but in the first 3 problems, they have different parts. So they have an A, B, C, D, and so on. Okay, and you got to do all of those. So they're pretty simple once you get the hang of it. Again, looking for those patterns, and again, it's just applying what we've been doing, just to kind of in a new way. So we're using those powers of 10, and we've been multiplying and dividing by those powers of 10 using this nice place value chart. All right, and now we're applying that to metric conversions, which means we're applying that to how do we take centimeters and convert it to meters, or how do we take meters and convert it to millimeters. So that's what we were working on today in class. It's not a review, it's taking that and applying it in a new way. Okay, these lessons build on each other. And so I just want to go over a few examples just to refresh your memory in case you get stuck, and just as additional models for you to kind of refer back to. Go back to examples. I'm not going to work every problem out, guys, but use the ones that we're doing. Use those as models for those other ones. Look at what we do for these problems that I show you here on the video, and then apply that to these others, to similar problems. Okay, so let's look at 1B, which is 105 centimeters, and we want to convert that to meters. Okay, so we're going from centimeters to meters, what we talked about today in class. That means I'm going from my small unit, which is centimeters, and converting to a bigger unit. That means my number is my number of centimeters, which is a smaller unit, is going to have a larger number next to it, because I can fit more of those units, the centimeters, into one of those meters. We talked about how there's 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. Okay, so the number next to them, the number next to my centimeters is going to be larger than the number next to my meters. Okay, because they're that smaller unit. So what we do when we're converting from a small unit to a large unit is we divide. So I'm going to take this 105, because I'm working with centimeters. Okay, and we said 100 centimeters for every meter. I'm going to divide by 100. So I'm going to take 105, and I'm going to divide it by 100. Now the directions say write an equation with an exponent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that 100 to exponential form, which means I'm going to change it to 10 to the power of 2. Okay, again, 2 zeros, which means 2 tens multiplied together make up 100. Okay, so the equation that I'm going to write down is 105 divided by 10 to the power of 2. This is what it wants out here to the side. Okay, now some of them will be dividing and some will be multiplying. All right, so watch that carefully. All right, when you need to divide or when you need to multiply. All right, so again, I'm going to solve this. So I'm going to go over to my place value chart here. I'm going to take 105 and divide it by 10 to the power of 2. Now this should look very familiar. Okay, we've been doing this. Again, it's applying it in a new way. So we're going to take that 105. Since I'm dividing, that means I'm going to shift my digits back on my place value chart. I'm going to use my exponent, which is 2, use that as my clue to let me know they're going to shift back 2 places. So that 1 is in the hundreds place, now it's in the ones place, and the 0 and the 5 are going to follow right behind. So what's on the bottom is my answer. So I'm going to circle that. Okay, don't forget my decimal here. So 105 divided by 10 to the power of 2 is 1 500 meters. So I go back to my problem and I write down 1 500 meters. Okay, so that's centimeters to meters. Divide by 100. All right, now let's take a look at one that goes the other way. Let's take a look at C. Letter C is 1 6800 meters, and this time we want to figure out how many centimeters is that equivalent to. Okay, so it looks kind of like this. So again, it has to do with 100 because there's 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. So this time I'm going from my larger unit to my smaller unit, so meters to centimeters. So this time I'm going to multiply. I'm doing the opposite. So I'm going to do the opposite of what I just did. So I'm going to multiply by 100, but again it wants it in exponent form, so 10 to the power of 2. I'm going to take my 1 and 68/100ths and multiply it by 10 to the power of 2. So again, I go over here. I'm going to erase my work here just to start fresh, okay, for the video. So 1 and 68/100ths, I'm going to multiply that by 10 to the power of 2. So here's what it looks like, okay? Here's what your first line looks like. Now this time I'm multiplying, so that means my digits are going to shift up 2 places. So that 1 is in the ones place, so it's going to shift up 2 places and land in the hundreds place. So it went from 1, 1 to 100. The 6 and the 8 are going to follow, so they're just going to follow right behind. Okay? And so again, I circle my answer on the bottom. Okay? So now 1 and 68/100ths multiplied by 10 to the power of 2 is 168. So I go over and I write that in. Okay? So again, meters to centimeters, I'm going to multiply by 10 to the power of 2. All right? So that's that first set. If I'm going from meters to centimeters, multiply by 100, or 10 to the power of 2. Centimeters to meters, divide by 100, or 10 to the power of 2. All right? Number 2 takes us into meters and millimeters. Okay? So it's going to be similar, but what we know about millimeters is that there's 1,000 millimeters for every 1 meter. Okay? And 1,000 in exponential form is 10 to the power of 3. So for all of these, I'm either going to be multiplying or dividing by 10 to the power of 3. So let's take a look at some examples to know when do I multiply, when do I divide. All right, so let's take a look at B. It is 1 and 2/10 meters, and I want to figure out how many millimeters is that. Okay, so again, my meters is my larger unit of measurement. My millimeters is my smaller unit. So the number next to it is going to be, there's going to be a smaller number of meters and a larger number of millimeters because I can pack more of those small units into that large unit. So again, I'm going to take that 1 and 2/10, since I'm converting, and I'm going to convert it to, I need a larger number, I'm going to multiply. So again, we said 1,000 this time, so 10 to the power of 3. Okay, it's going to want it in exponential form, so you're going to use 10 to the power of 3 for all these on number 2. Okay, so again, the same thing. I go to my place value chart, I put in 1 and 2/10. Don't forget your decimal. All right, this time I'm multiplying by 10 to the power of 3. Make sure that exponent's that small number. Make sure it doesn't look like 103. That could get confusing. And since I'm multiplying, my digits are going to shift up. And again, my exponent's 3 now, so they're going to shift up 3 places. So 1, 2, 3. So that 1 is going to land in the thousands place. Okay? Make that a little bit neater because I'm going to move my 2 up as well, 3 places. And then I need those placeholder zeros all the way up to my decimal. So again, my answer is on the bottom. It's on the second row. And I get 1,200. So again, I go over to my problem, which will be on your paper. And 1 and 2/10 meters multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 is 1,200. Okay? So if I'm going from meters to millimeters, I'm going to multiply by 10 to the power of 3 this time. Okay, that's when we're working with millimeters. So again, you got to pay attention with those. You got to be real careful that you don't accidentally use the wrong power of 10. You may do everything else right, but make sure you use the correct power of 10. Centimeters is 10 to the power of 2 because there's 100 centimeters for every meter. And millimeters is 10 to the power of 3 because there's 1,000 millimeters for every meter. Okay? So let's take a look at when we do the opposite. So that would be C. 2C is 1,020 millimeters, and this time I want to convert it to meters. Okay? So I'm going from a small unit, millimeters, and I want to convert it to meters. So this time I'm doing the opposite, which means I'm going to divide. And again, we said for all these on number 2, it's 10 to the power of 3. All right? So I'm going to take my 1020, and I'm going to divide it by 10 to the power of 3. So I go over to my place value chart. I put in 1020. I divide it by 10 to the power of 3. Okay, I put that on my place value chart. And again, this time I'm dividing, so my digits are going to shift back. My exponent's 3, so they're going to shift back 3 places. So I'm going to start with my 1. It's going to move back 1, 2, 3. It's going to land in the ones place. It was in the thousands. 3 places back is the ones place. The 0, the 2, and my other 0 follow right behind. Don't forget your decimal. So I'm going to circle my answer on the bottom row. And that's what I write in on my paper. So 1 and 20 thousandths, or 1 and 2 hundredths. I don't really need that 0 on the very end. Okay? Be equivalent. So on your paper you would write in 1020 millimeters divided by 10 to the power of 3 is 1 and 20 thousandths meters. Okay? So this time, since I'm going millimeters to meters, I'm dividing by 10 to the power of 3. So those are the main, that's really what you're doing with every one of these problems. You just have to watch, is it millimeters and meters, or is it centimeters and meters? Which one am I converting? Okay, so you got to watch those two. Go back to these problems. If you need to look back at the video, or if you need to pause at any point, do that, please. Okay, and then you can watch it as many times. This is a little bit of a longer video because I wanted to give you enough examples to go back to in case you get stuck. So do your best. The word problems, you're doing the same thing. Once you figure these out on the front, you're going to use these as models for number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? So work carefully. It shouldn't take you too long, but if you get stuck and you spend, if you spend more than 20 minutes working on it, you need to stop and then come in and talk to me, ask some questions. Okay, guys? So I will see you guys tomorrow. I'll be in my room tomorrow morning at 7. All right? So come in and see me, ask some questions. I'm here to help. All right, guys? All right. I'll talk to you later.